Okay, you've got a supplement with clinical studies, premium ingredients, third-party testing. Your ads open with the mechanism of action. Your product page lists every feature and benefit, and your conversion rate is still stuck. Want to know why? Most supplement brands think they need to lead with science to build credibility. They think if they just explain the science well enough, list enough benefits, cite enough studies, people will buy. Or worse, they are afraid to say anything else. But here's the reality. People don't buy supplements because they understand the science. They buy because they feel something. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why your competitor with less science on their page and simpler ads is outselling you. And more importantly, you'll know exactly where desire actually lives and how to activate it. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Okay, let's talk about where most supplement brands go wrong. Let me paint a picture you've probably seen 100 times. Someone scrolling Facebook sees your ad. It says, revolutionary nitric oxide support for cardiovascular health. They click through because, okay, they're interested in heart health. They land on your product page, and what do they see? More of the same. The page opens with, our patented blend utilizes the methylation pathway to support mitochondrial function and promote cellular energy production. Or the landing page says, nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules produced in the human body. It acts as a vasodilator and signaling molecule, instructing blood vessels to relax and dilate to support blood flow. Or maybe your approach is different. Maybe you're not leading with science. Maybe your ad says, supports heart health with 3 bullet points, promotes cardiovascular function, supports healthy blood pressure, helps maintain arterial flexibility. They click. Your product page hits them with more bullets, promotes heart-healthy energy, supports immune function, helps maintain healthy inflammation response. Clinically studied ingredients. Here's the thing. Both approaches are making the same fundamental mistake. The science-first approach is having a conversation nobody asked for yet. You're explaining how something works before anyone cares that it works. The feature-first approach is listing what the product does without giving anyone a reason to care. These are generic claims that could describe 50 different supplements. They're safe, they're compliant, and they're completely forgettable. Let me be clear about something. I'm not saying don't use science. I'm not saying don't list features. You absolutely need both. Your science builds credibility. Your features inform the buying decision. But you cannot start there. Not in your ads, not on your landing page, not anywhere in the marketing conversation. Because here's what's actually happening in the buyer's mind. They see your ad about nitric oxide and vasodilation. They read it. They think, okay, that makes sense. And they keep scrolling. Or they land on your product page with all those features listed. They scan it. They think, sure, sounds good. And they bounce. Why? Because sense-making doesn't create urgency. Understanding a mechanism doesn't intensify desire. And this matters because, as the legendary copywriter Eugene Schwartz wrote, you can't create desire. You can only intensify it. Science explains. Features inform, but neither one intensifies. Now let's talk about why this is such a critical problem, specifically for supplements. Think about the dual mind problem we've talked about before. Supplements sit right in the middle of functional and emotional purchases. You're not buying a lint roller that just needs to work. You're not buying a luxury watch that's purely about status. Supplements solve both a functional need and an emotional need at the same time. The functional mind wants mechanism, studies, ingredients, features. The emotional mind wants future state, identity shift, relief from pain. Most supplement brands are speaking only to the functional mind. They're trying to educate, when they should be connecting first. And there's research that backs this up. A 2026 study published in the Marketing Management Journal looked at gain versus loss framing in rational and emotional appeals. Here's what they found. Emotional ads shape attitudes by creating feelings and identification with the situation. Rational ads work by providing concrete information and supporting analytical processing. In other words, emotional messaging creates connection. Rational messaging provides justification. You need both, but the emotional connection has to come first. This matters even more for health products. Health and wellness purchases are strongly identity-driven. People are thinking about aging, energy, weight, longevity, decline. These are deeply emotional territories. According to research from ET Edge Insights, emotion-led storytelling around desired outcomes, relief of pain points, and feeling healthier or in control drives initial engagement and brand preference. Science can't compete with that until desire is already activated. So when you lead with mechanism in your ads, when you open your product page with features, you're skipping the most critical step. You're trying to convince before you've connected. Let me tell you what this looks like in your business. Your cost to acquire a customer stays high because your landing pages aren't converting. Your ads get clicks but no purchases. You look at the data and think, the traffic is bad. The creative isn't working. Maybe the offer is wrong. So you test new images. You try different traffic sources. You add a discount code. Nothing moves the needle much. And then you think, maybe we need more science, more studies, more credibility. If we just explain it better, people will get it. So you add more mechanism explanation to your ads. You expand the science section on your product page. You add more third-party certifications. Your conversion rate stays flat. Here's what's actually happening. Your messaging is starting in the wrong place. You're trying to build trust before you've built desire. And trust without desire doesn't convert. Think about it this way. If someone doesn't want what you're selling, it doesn't matter how much you can prove it works. They're just not interested. But if they desperately want what you're selling, they'll find a way to believe it works. Desire comes first. Everything else supports it. So let's talk about where desire actually lives and how to structure your messaging to activate it. Most supplement brands structure their messaging like this. First, they explain the science and mechanism. Then they list features and benefits. Then they add social proof. Finally, they make the offer. This is backwards for supplements. You should structure your messaging like this. Start with emotional desire. Move to social desire, then functional desire, and support it all with science. Let me break down what each layer is and why this order matters. So the first layer is emotional desire, and this is the deepest layer. This is where you need to start, both in your ads and on your product pages. Emotional desire taps into core emotional states, and here's the dark truth about supplement marketing. It's not about what people want to gain. It's about what they want to escape. Negative emotions push harder than positive ones. Let me give you the core emotional drivers in the supplement space. Fear of decline, of becoming a burden, of an unknown future, of losing control over your own health and body. Loss of independence, of vitality, of the person they used to be. The feeling that something is slipping away. Anger towards big pharma, towards a broken healthcare system, towards doctors who dismissed their concerns or just handed them a prescription without listening. Shame about their body, their health, their lack of control, the feeling that they should be able to handle this themselves. Now, here's why negative emotions work so much better than positive ones, especially for supplements. Most supplement buyers are already in low emotional states. They're tired, they're frustrated, they're worried. They don't have a lot of energy to move towards some aspirational future state, but they do have energy to move away from pain. That 20 26 research I mentioned earlier found that loss framing in emotional appeals creates stronger identification. In other words, the desire to avoid decline is stronger than the desire to gain vitality. The fear of losing independence is stronger than the hope of staying active. And this makes sense when you think about health purchases specifically. They're identity-driven. Your customer is asking themselves, am I the kind of person who is declining? Am I losing control of my health? Am I becoming a burden? These are heavy questions. These are emotional questions. Your science can't answer them. Your features can't answer them. Only emotional connection can engage with identity-level concerns. This is where desire lives. In the emotional need to move away from a feared future state. So your ad needs to open here, not with nitric oxide as a vasodilator, but with the fear of decline, the loss of vitality, the frustration of a body that isn't cooperating anymore. Your product page needs to open here too, not with a list of features, but with acknowledgement of where they are emotionally right now. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like in practice. For a cardiovascular supplement, don't open with supports heart health. Open with tired of feeling winded halfway up the stairs when you used to take them 2 at a time without thinking. For a sleep supplement, don't open with promotes restful sleep. Open with lying awake at 3 a.m., mind racing, dreading how exhausted you'll be tomorrow. For a cognitive supplement, don't open with supports brain health. Open with walking into a room and forgetting why you're there, again, and wondering if this is just how it's going to be now. See the difference? One is a feature. The other is a feeling. Features inform. Feelings intensify desire. This is the first layer. This is where you hook them. This is where you create identification. And according to the research, emotion-led storytelling around relief from these pain points is what drives initial engagement in health products. Now, once you've hooked them emotionally, you need to make it real. And that's where the second layer comes in. Social desire goes beyond what the product does. It's about how the problem shows up in their actual life, in real, specific, daily moments. This layer answers the question, what is this costing you in the real world? Not in abstract health concepts, not in lab values or mechanisms, but in moments that matter. Let me show you what I mean. Low energy doesn't just mean you feel tired. It means you can't keep up on the morning hike with friends. It means you need to nap before dinner plans. It means you're watching Netflix on Friday night instead of going out because you just don't have it in you. The functional desire is to increase energy. The social desire is to participate in life without constantly planning around fatigue. Poor sleep doesn't just mean you're tired. It means you're snapping at your spouse over nothing because you're running on 4 hours of broken sleep. It means you're forgetting what you walked into a room for. It means you're declining evening invites because you're already exhausted. The functional desire is better sleep quality. The social desire is be present and patient with the people who matter. Brain fog doesn't just mean unclear thinking. It means you're struggling to contribute in meetings at work. It means you're forgetting client names and feeling embarrassed. It means tasks that used to take 30 minutes now take an hour because you have to reread everything twice. The functional desire is cognitive support. The social desire is feel sharp and capable again. Do you see how this works? You're taking the emotional pain point from the first layer and you're making it concrete. You're painting the picture of how this shows up in their daily life. This is where you move from, I feel this, to this is costing me real things in my real life. And this layer is critical because it bridges emotion to action. It makes the problem urgent. It intensifies the desire to solve it. Your ads might not have room for all of this, but your product page does. After you hook them emotionally, This is where you elaborate. This is where you make them nod along because you're describing their exact experience. Now, once they're emotionally engaged and you've made the problem real, now you can talk about what the product does. And this is where most supplement brands want to start. But it's actually the third layer. Functional desire is what the product does. This is your features and benefits. Supports cardiovascular health. Promotes cellular energy production. Maintains healthy inflammation response. These matter. Don't misunderstand me. The functional layer satisfies the thinking mind's need for logic. It's the bridge between emotion and mechanism. But functional desire alone has no energy behind it. It's like telling someone you should exercise. Everyone knows. Nobody moves. So you need the first two layers first, the emotional hook and the social reality. Then the functional layer lands with weight because now they care. Here's what this looks like in sequence. Emotional. Tired of planning your entire day around your energy crashes? Social. Missing evening plans because you're too exhausted to leave the couch by 7? Functional. Our formula supports sustained cellular energy production throughout the day. See how the functional claim now means something? It's not just a generic benefit. It's the solution to the specific problem you just described. This is the layer where you start to introduce what your supplement actually does. But notice, we're 3 layers deep before we get here. We've already created emotional identification and made the problem real in their daily life. And now they want to know, how does this help? And that's when you move to the final layer. Now, finally, you bring in the mechanism. Now you explain how it works in the body. Here's how CoQ10 and PQQ work together in your mitochondria to support ATP production. Here's why nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator to improve circulation and oxygen delivery. This is where your science lives. This is where you build credibility and trust. This is where you justify the functional claims you just made. But notice when this happens, not in your ad headline, not in the opening line of your product page, not until after you've activated desire at the emotional and social levels. Because here's what the research tells us. Emotional ads create feelings and identification. Rational information provides analytical support. You need both, but the emotional connection has to come first. Think of it like building a house. Science is the foundation. It's critical, but you don't invite someone to walk through your foundation. You invite them into the finished house. You show them the kitchen where they'll make memories, the bedroom where they'll finally sleep well, the living room where family will gather. Then, if they're interested, you take them down to the basement and show them the foundation. Here's why this house is solid. Here's the engineering that makes it work. That's what science is. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. But it's not the opening line. Let me show you what this looks like in 2 different scenarios. First, for an ad. Then for a product page. Now, let's say we're marketing a cardiovascular supplement. If you're doing it the science first way, your ad headline might be Revolutionary Nitric Oxide Support for Cardiovascular Health. And the first line would read, nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules produced in the human body. It acts as a vasodilator and signaling molecule, instructing blood vessels to relax and dilate to support blood flow. What happens? They read it. They think, okay, makes sense. They keep scrolling. Now here's the desire first approach. Your headline would be, remember when you could take the stairs without thinking about it? And the first line, when you didn't have to wave off your grandkids because you're too winded to keep up? Our formula supports healthy blood flow so you can do the things you love without your heart holding you back. What happens? They feel something. They identify, they click, now they land on your product page. Let's look at how that should open. And if you're doing it the feature first way, your headline is Premium Cardiovascular Support Formula with bullets underneath. Promotes heart-healthy energy. Supports healthy blood pressure. Maintains arterial flexibility. Clinically studied ingredients. What happens? They scan it. They think, sure, sounds good. They bounce to compare with 3 other similar products. Now, here's the desire first approach. Your headline is, When did the stairs become the enemy? Opening paragraph. You used to take them 2 at a time. Now you're winded halfway up. You wave off your grandkids when they want to play because keeping up leaves you breathless. You're planning which parking spot to take based on how far you'll have to walk. And you're wondering, is this just how it is now? Second paragraph. Here's what's happening. Your cardiovascular system isn't delivering oxygen and nutrients as efficiently as it used to, and that affects everything. Your energy, your endurance, your ability to do the things you love without your heart holding you back. Third paragraph. Our formula supports healthy blood flow and circulation throughout your body, so you can climb those stairs, keep up with your grandkids, and stop planning your life around whether you'll be too winded. Fourth paragraph. Here's how it works. The combination of L-arginine, L-citrulline, and beetroot extract supports your body's natural nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator, helping blood vessels relax and dilate to support blood flow and oxygen delivery to your muscles and organs. See the difference? Emotional hook. When did the stairs become the enemy? Social reality, specific moments, waving off grandkids, planning parking spots. Functional benefit, supports blood flow and circulation. Science. Here's how the ingredients work. Same supplement, same science, same features, completely different starting point. One creates desire and then justifies it. The other tries to create desire with features and science. And it doesn't work. Let me show you what this looks like with real supplements and real copy. I was looking at a cardiovascular supplement recently. High quality ingredients, good science, third-party tested. The ad headline, clinically proven nitric oxide support. The first 2 lines of the ad. Nitric oxide is one of the most important signaling molecules for vascular health. Our formula delivers L-arginine and L-citrulline to support healthy node production and cardiovascular function. I clicked through to the product page. The headline, Advanced Cardiovascular Support Formula. The opening paragraph. Another 3 sentences about nitric oxide, the endothelium, and vascular function. Then a bullet list. Promotes heart-healthy energy, supports healthy blood pressure, helps maintain arterial flexibility, contains clinically studied ingredients. Here's the problem. I'm reading all of this and I'm thinking, okay, this makes sense, sounds legit, but I'm not feeling anything. There's no emotional hook. There's no moment where I think, oh, that's me, that's my problem. It's just information. And information doesn't intensify desire. Here's another example. Different supplement. This one is for sleep. The ad. Fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Bullets in the ad might include promotes restful sleep, supports healthy sleep cycles, helps maintain calm and relaxation, non-habit forming. Product page headline, natural sleep support. Opening bullets may be something like magnesium glycinate for relaxation, L-theanine for calm, melatonin-free formula, wake up refreshed. Look, these are fine, they're not wrong, but they're generic. These could describe probably 300 different sleep supplements on the market. There's no emotional connection. There's no specific pain point. There's nothing that makes me think, yes, exactly, that's what I'm going through. It's just features, and features don't create urgency. Now let me show you what the desire first approach looks like when it's done right. I'm not going to name the brand because I don't want this to sound like an endorsement, but I saw an ad recently for a cognitive supplement that got this right. The ad opened with, "You just introduced someone you've known for 5 years, and you blanked on their name." That's it. That's the hook. Immediately, I'm either relating to that or I'm not. If I am, I keep reading. If I'm not the customer anyway. The ad continues. It's not just names. It's walking into a room and forgetting why you're there. It's taking twice as long to get through your email because you have to reread everything, and you're wondering if this is just the new normal. Now I'm hooked. Now I want to know more. Then here's what's happening. Your brain's ability to form and retrieve memories depends on healthy neuroplasticity and neurotransmitter function, and both decline naturally with age. Our formula supports both. Okay, now you're telling me what the product does, but I'm ready to hear it because you already connected with me emotionally. Then, further down the page, the combination of lion's mane mushroom, alpha-GPC, and phosphatidylserine supports neuroplasticity, acetylcholine production, and cell membrane health in the brain. There's the science. But notice when it appears. Not in the headline, not in the opening line. After you've created emotional identification and made the functional benefit clear. This is the structure that works. Emotional hook, social reality, functional benefit, scientific support. Most brands do this backwards, and their conversion rates show it. Let me tie this back to something fundamental about supplement marketing. Supplements are different from other products. We've talked about this before. They sit between functional and emotional purchases. You're not buying a desk organizer that just needs to work. You're not buying a luxury car that's purely about status. You're buying something you ingest, something you believe will change how you feel, how you function, how you live. That requires emotional buy-in. That requires identification with the problem and hope for the solution. That requires desire. And desire isn't created by explaining mechanisms. It's intensified by connecting with emotional pain points. Other products can get away with feature-only messaging or science-first approaches, but not supplements. Why? Because the research is clear on this. Health and wellness purchases are strongly identity-driven and fear/hope-driven. People are thinking about aging, about energy, about vitality, about decline. These are emotional territories, deeply emotional, and emotion-led storytelling around desired outcomes and relief from pain points is what drives initial engagement and brand preference in this space. Your science matters, your features matter, but they're not the opening line. They're the support structure for the emotional connection you've already made. Here's something else to consider. As markets mature, science and features become noise. Every cardiovascular supplement has studies. Every sleep supplement has magnesium and L-theanine. Every cognitive supplement talks about brain health and focus. The science becomes table stakes. The features become generic. So what differentiates you? What makes someone choose your supplement over the 50 others that make the same claims? It's not better science. Most customers can't evaluate the quality of your studies anyway. It's not better features. They all sound the same after a while. It's connection. It's identification. It's the feeling that you understand their problem specifically. The brands that win in mature markets are the ones creating emotional identification first. They're intensifying desire before they explain mechanisms. They're connecting before they convince. This is why your competitor with less impressive science might be outselling you. It's not that their product is better. It's that their messaging is structured correctly. They're starting with desire. You're starting with mechanism. They're creating feelings. You're providing information. Both matter, but one has to come first. Desire is just one of the 4 supplement buying forces. It works together with hope, trust, and belief. Let me show you how they all connect. Desire gets them emotionally engaged. It creates the initial hook. It makes them care enough to keep reading. Hope gives them permission to believe a solution is possible. This is where your unique mechanism comes in. Why your supplement is different from everything else they've tried. Trust makes them willing to buy from you specifically. This is where your credibility, your science, your third-party testing comes in. Belief makes them think it will work for them specifically. This is where social proof, testimonials, and guarantees come in. But without desire amplified correctly at the emotional level first, nothing else matters. If they don't want what you're selling, it doesn't matter how much you can prove it works. It doesn't matter how credible you are. It doesn't matter how many 5-star reviews you have. They're just not interested. But if they desperately want what you're selling, they'll find a way to believe it works. They'll find a way to trust you. They'll find a way to convince themselves it will work for them. Desire is the foundation. Everything else builds on it. And that's why leading with science or features is so costly. You're trying to build trust before you've built desire. You're trying to create belief before you've created want. It doesn't work that way. You have to start with the emotional connection. Everything else supports it. Let me bring this back to something I mentioned earlier. Health purchases are identity-driven. When someone is considering a supplement, they're not just thinking about mechanisms or features. They're thinking about identity. Am I the kind of person who is declining? Am I losing control of my health? Am I becoming a burden to my family? Am I still capable of the things I used to do? These are the real questions. These are the emotional questions. And your science can't answer them. Your features can't answer them. What answers them is emotional connection. It's acknowledgement that, yes, you feel this way. Yes, this is happening. Yes, it matters. That's what creates identification. That's what makes them think, this brand understands me. And once they feel understood, then they're ready to hear about mechanisms. Then they're ready to hear about features. Then they're ready to evaluate the science. But not before. The research backs this up. Emotional ads create feelings and identification. Rational information comes after to support the decision, not the other way around. Okay, let's get practical. How do you actually audit your current messaging and fix it? First, pull up your top performing ad. Look at the headline. Look at the first line of copy. Ask yourself, is this emotional, functional, or scientific? If it supports cardiovascular health, that's functional. If it's nitric oxide promotes healthy blood flow, that's scientific. And if it's tired of being winded halfway up the stairs, that's emotional. Now pull up your product page. Look at the headline. Look at the first 100 words. Same question. Emotional, functional, or scientific? Count how many paragraphs you read before you hit an emotional pain point. If the answer is never or at the bottom of the page, you're starting wrong. Second, understand your customer's emotional state. What are they afraid of? Not at the mechanism level, at the identity level. Are they afraid of decline, of losing independence, of becoming a burden? Are they angry at a healthcare system that failed them? Are they ashamed that they can't control this themselves? This is where you start. This is your emotional hook. Third, make it specific and social. How does this emotional pain show up in their daily life, in real moments? Not low energy, but can't make it through a family dinner without needing to lie down. Not poor sleep, but lying awake at 3 a.m., mind racing, knowing you'll be useless tomorrow. Not brain fog, but introducing someone you've known for years and blanking on their name. Specific, real, relatable. Fourth, then and only then introduce the functional benefit. Our formula supports sustained energy throughout the day. This blend promotes healthy sleep cycles and calms nighttime mental activity. These ingredients support memory formation and recall. Now they want to know how. Now they're ready for the mechanism. Fifth, support with science. Here's how CoQ10 works in your mitochondria. Here's how lion's mane supports neuroplasticity. But notice the order: emotion, social reality, functional benefit, scientific mechanism. Not mechanism first, not features first, emotion first. Let me give you a concrete template you can use. Here's the science-first approach. CoQ10 is a crucial component in the mitochondrial electron transport chain, supporting ATP production at the cellular level. Our formula delivers 200 milligrams of bioavailable ubiquinone to support cardiovascular function and promote heart-healthy energy. Here's the desire-first approach. Tired of feeling like you're running on empty by 2 p.m.? When even a full night's sleep doesn't seem to help anymore? Our CoQ10 formula supports your cell's natural energy production so you can actually keep up with your day. Here's how it works. CoQ10 is crucial for ATP production in your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells. Same supplement, same science, same features, different starting point. One creates desire, one assumes it. Here's another example. The feature-first approach. Premium Sleep Support Formula. Promotes restful sleep. Supports healthy sleep cycles. Helps maintain calm and relaxation. Wake up refreshed. The desire-first approach. Lying awake at 3 a.m. again. Mind racing through tomorrow's to-do list. You finally fall asleep an hour before your alarm goes off, then spend the whole day in a fog. Our blend helps calm nighttime mental activity and supports natural sleep cycles so you can actually rest. Here's what's in it. Magnesium glycinate to relax your nervous system, L-theanine to ease racing thoughts, and passion flower to support healthy sleep architecture. Same product, different entry point. One connects, then explains. One explains and hopes for connection. Now, if you're thinking, okay, this makes sense conceptually, but will it actually move my numbers? Fair question. Here's how to test it. Create 2 versions of your ad. One science first or feature first, one emotion first. Using the layer structure I just described, run them against each other, but don't just measure click-through rate. That's not the full picture. Measure conversion rate on the landing page. Measure cost to acquire a customer. And if you can, measure lifetime value of customers from each ad. My hypothesis: the emotion-first approach will have higher conversion rates and attract customers with higher lifetime value. Why? Because people who buy based on emotional connection are more invested. They're not just comparison shopping on price and features. They've identified with your brand. They feel understood. Those customers stick around. They buy again. They refer friends. Customers who buy purely on features, they'll leave as soon as someone else has a better deal or one more feature. So test this, but test it properly. Don't just look at clicks. Look at quality of customer. Here's one more thing to keep in mind. You have about 3 seconds to create emotional identification. That's it, 3 seconds. If your first sentence is about nitric oxide, you're gambling that your customer is already deep into research mode and actively looking for mechanism information. Maybe they are, but probably they're not. Most people aren't in research mode when they see your ad. They're scrolling. They're distracted. They're barely paying attention. You need to hook them fast. And the only way to hook them fast is emotion. Remember when you could take the stairs without thinking about it? That takes 3 seconds to read. And in those 3 seconds, they either relate or they don't. If they relate, you've got them. If they don't, they weren't your customer anyway. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules produced in the human body, takes longer to read, and creates no emotional identification. So lead with the feeling. support with the facts. The research is clear on this. Emotion-led storytelling drives initial engagement in health products. The analytical information comes after to support the decision they're already emotionally leaning toward. Let me wrap this up for you. Most supplement brands mess this up in the same way. They think credibility comes from science, so they lead with mechanism, and they think clarity comes from features, so they lead with benefits. They think if they just explain it well enough, people will want it. But that's backwards. Credibility matters, clarity matters, explanation matters, but only after you've created desire. If someone doesn't want what you're selling, your credibility is irrelevant. Your clarity doesn't matter. Your explanation falls on deaf ears. You have to make them want it first. And you make them want it by connecting with where they are emotionally, by acknowledging the pain they're in, by making it real and specific and relatable. Then and only then are they ready to hear about mechanisms and features and science. Your conversion rate is telling you something. If you're stuck at 1.8 or 2%, it's not because your science isn't good enough. It's not because your features aren't clear enough. It's because you're starting the conversation in the wrong place. You're explaining before you're connecting. You're informing before you're identifying. You're trying to convince before you've created desire. Fix the order. Start with emotion. Layer in social reality. Then functional benefit. Then scientific support. Desire first. Everything else follows. Your science is important. Your features matter. Your clinical studies, your third-party testing, your bioavailability, your mechanism of action, all of that is critical. But none of it is the opening line. Not in your ads, not on your product pages, not anywhere in your marketing. You start with emotional desire. The fear, the loss, the frustration, the pain, point they're trying to escape. You layer in social desire. How this shows up in their real life in specific moments that matter. You support with functional desire. What your supplement actually does to help. And you justify with science. How the mechanism works in the body. Most brands do this backwards. And then they wonder why their cost to acquire a customer is so high. Why their ads get clicks but no conversions. Why their product page bounces are through the roof. The research is clear. Emotional ads create identification. Rational information supports the decision. Not the other way around. Health purchases are identity-driven. People aren't just buying a supplement, they're asking themselves deep questions about who they are, who they're becoming, and whether they have control over that. Your science can't answer those questions. Your features can't answer those questions. Only emotional connection can engage with those concerns. Then everything else supports it. So next time you sit down to write ad copy or product page copy, ask yourself, am I explaining the mechanism or am I amplifying desire? Am I starting with science or am I starting with feeling? Am I providing information or am I creating identification? Lead with feeling, support with science. That's how you sell supplements. That's it for this episode. If this changed how you think about your messaging structure, if you're going to go audit your ads and your product pages after listening to this, I want to hear about it. Let me know what you find. Thanks for listening. Until next time.